Hello everyone. Hi everyone. Welcome to this amazing workshop. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Well, to this afternoon, maybe morning for you, or 9. I don't know. My name is Valentina, and I work for the marketing team here in Ironhack. I'm based in the Canary Island, and I would love to hear where do you guys are based on. As normally we have a lot of international audience, so that will be very cool to like if you guys can share in the chat, that will be amazing. Well, I'm here with Felipe, who will be our amazing speaker today and will give this very cool workshop about Python. So yeah, I mean, he will introduce himself in just a little bit in a minute. I would just like to say a few little things before we start. And the first is that this webinar, it's been recorded right now, so no worries at all if you guys miss anything. Like, no worries, we will send you the recording and the presentation, well, the collaborative link that Felipe will share with you guys tomorrow morning, so no worries. And I'm just reading right now that we have people from Miami, Germany, Ghana, Italy, France, Marrakech, also cool, Belgium, Italy, Portugal, Netherlands, England, Paris. Oh my God, like from all over the world, Albania. Oh my God, this is so crazy always. Well, this is pretty cool, guys. So as you guys can see, well, we have a chat, so we really want to keep it active during the session. And also we have a very cool ask a question session, because I know you guys will have many questions for Felipe. He will take the last minutes of the session to actually answer you like everything. So please, your questions, put it in this session, because if you put it in the chat, it will for sure get lost. And last but not least, this week we are doing a Hack Your Career. This is the Hack Your Career week. So this is for career changers. So we are hosting this special session about Python for all of you that want to change your career to data analytics, so you guys can have an idea of how it would look like. So yeah, I mean, if you guys want to check the rest of the sessions that we have 2 special sessions today, and we also have a very cool global open house tomorrow, Friday. So if you guys want to see this, you can check this in this green bottom. And yeah, I mean, I think that will be it for me. I will just let you with Felipe, and I really hope you have an amazing workshop, guys. See you in a while.
See you, Val. Thanks.
To
Hey,
you.
guys. See ya. Hey, guys. Hope everybody's doing well. Um, this feels a bit awkward for me because I'm just talking to a screen, but so let's keep the chat here active so we can make it more interactive. I see people from all over the world. I'm based in Lisbon, Portugal. I see that there was some people from Portugal as well, including there's Carlos is from Lisbon, right? So let's get together for a beer sometimes, and let's get started today. How I like this to work as I go on with my presentation here, right? I'll be showing the notebook with the code, run it, explain whatever I have to explain, and if you have any questions, go here in the chat and ask. Okay, I'll keep an eye on it. I have an extra screen for this, so I'm gonna keep an eye. I'm gonna keep an eye here on the chat and answer you. There's a bit of a delay between the moment you send the message and the moment I receive the message, so keep that in mind. But as soon as I see it here, I'll see if it's fit for what I'm explaining. If I see that it's like extra stuff, I'll tell you to put it in the ask a question button that you have below your screen here. There's an ask a question button. In the ask a question button, I already put the link to the notebook. You can go already there and click it. It's going to open the notebook I'm going to show you. If you please upvote it so it's always on top, it would be really cool, so it doesn't get lost in the other questions. So the ask a question part, I'll go over, okay, when I finish the the session. Okay. If you have questions that I can answer right away, please do it on the chat here that everybody was saying where they're from and stuff. Go ahead and make the question there. Okay. So with no further ado, I'll start sharing my screen. Okay. Let's see. Has to be the webinar. So hopefully you're seeing here my Collab, my notebook, right? And so let's get started. The idea here is that I go over this notebook until 6 CET. So we have, like, I have to finish this tops at 6:20 because 6:30 I have class. So at 6:20 I'll be logging off, okay? So I'll try to keep it brief, at least so we can finish the notebook and leave at least 15 minutes to answer the questions later, okay? Again, the session is being recorded, so if you miss anything, don't worry. You can just access the same link that you did after the workshop is over, and you can rewatch it, okay? Cool. Yes, so guys, yes, the notebook here is in the Ask a Question button. Let me show you here. I'll put this here. And you have the button here, Ask a Question, right? And if you click on the Ask a Question button, there is the link here to access the notebook, okay? So I don't need this anymore. So let's get started, okay? I think the notebook itself is self-explanatory. So when you run over it, I think you will not have trouble in remembering what was said, okay? I do have like some basic theory here in the beginning just to explain about objects in Python, variables and types, just so you can know what I'm like, understand the vocabulary when I say things. In Python, it's common to say that everything in Python is an object. So I can refer to a variable as an object. I can refer to a list as an object. Like I can refer to anything in Python as an object. So I'll be using that word a lot. Okay. And well, the identity is usually the name you give to the object. Like here, let's say that I have an object, which is a string, right? A string is a text. Okay, guys, well, we're going to go over this. And I'm giving it the name, my first variable. So this is the identity of my object. Okay, each object will have a type. This object has a type string, right? Text is in Python. The name for text is string. Strings will always be covered by quotes. Okay, so you always have single quotes or double quotes around it. Okay, here we have an example with single quotes, here with double quotes. They are the same-ish. Okay, I'll explain you a little difference soon. And also, besides the type, you're also going to have a value, right? So the value is the thing itself here, okay? So, yeah, so you see, even if the value is 0 or none or empty would be something like this, okay? None is another type of value. Yeah, and you could write it like this, okay? For example, I'm going to put a hashtag here. The idea of the hashtag is that everything after the hashtag is commented out. So this will not run as a code, okay? When I run my cell, this is not going to be run by Python, okay? So there we have it. Let's put it back the way it was. These are the basic introductions, okay, guys? Talking about Jupyter Notebook or Collab. We're using Collab here, but Collab is very similar to Jupyter Notebook. If you want to start, if you're starting to code now and you want a tool that does not depend into an internet connection, because you notice that Collab here, it's working on using the internet to connect to Python and to be used. If you wanted to, let's say, read an Excel file or something, you would have to upload the file here because it's not in your computer. So as you can also use Jupyter Notebook, okay? Jupyter Notebook is another good option that you can install to use. you can use to install Jupyter Notebook in Python. Usually I install Anaconda 3 because Anaconda 3 is something that you can find easy. You just Google Anaconda 3, you're going to find it, you can download it, and you can put like, it already comes with Python, it already comes with Jupyter Notebook, it already comes with IDEs, which can help you code. Let's say it has some sort of grammar check or syntax check. So notebooks are usually very raw in that sense. So you can be writing wrong code and we'll only realize after you try to run and get the error, and it's harder to find the error. So it's a good idea to code in an IDE to see the errors there and to follow up on those. So these are just some tips for you who are beginning, okay, to on this journey to learn to code. I myself was someone who changed career. I was a lawyer before this. I started coding on like some online courses. By 2019, I started with some free online courses to learn Python. When I realized that, that's really what I wanted to do, I did the course in Ironhack myself in 2019, and now I'm working there as a lead teacher during the night, part-time, and during daytime, I'm working as a data scientist for a consulting company. Right now, I'm developing some really cool machine learning projects for a bank. So like, it was a journey that it was worth it, and it did not take long. I think for those who are changing careers, I think it's a very good opportunity, this moment and the market you're getting into. I think it's a very good moment. Who is also from Portugal, I'm seeing here. Hey, it is. Welcome. So just for those who arrived right now, okay, you can go to the Ask a Question button below here, right by where the chat is, okay? So you have there the Ask a Question button. You can click the Ask a Question button, and there's the link for the Collab notebook that we're using, okay? You can click it. One warning, guys, is that if I do changes here in my notebook, these changes will appear there in your computer, but also it will erase your notes, okay? So what you can do to avoid this is to go and File and save a copy in Drive. Try to save a copy in your Drive. If that's not possible, you can download it in IPYNB and then come here to open notebook or upload notebook, okay? Because it's going to be downloaded in your computer, and you'll be able to here choose wherever you downloaded the file and open it, okay? So that's it, okay, guys? For those, hopefully, if anybody is having problems, let me know, and I can give you some extra tips here before we move on, okay? So I'll be moving on, but let me know if there's any problem there, okay? Guys, these are the types that we're going to be covering today, okay? Strings, which I already mentioned, and they are texts wrapped in quotes, okay? Can be single quotes or double quotes. And I already, spoiler alert, right? That if there is an apostrophe, you have to use double quotes, okay? Because you see, for example, let me put another line of code here. Hey, Subra, what is your doubt, man? You can just say it. While that, I'm gonna do the show you how. For example, let's say I have, what if I have an apostrophe, right? Like this. Well, this is, let's put like something like this, okay? So you see that Python got a bit lost here, right? Because I meant for this word to have an apostrophe S, but this is, you see that this is highlighted as red, right? Because it's the string, right? Strings get highlighted as in red here in Jupyter Notebook. It's a way to make it easier for you to see things, right? Some functions get also another color, so you see that there are some colors there that do make sense. Yes, Joseph. I mean, you can become enough. I did, at least in theory, right? I did in less than 2 years. So it's a path you can take, and it's doable. It is a lot of work. I had to put a lot of work in it. I was studying like 10 hours a day or maybe more. And yeah, like putting the amount of hours you need, you will get there soon. Okay. So somebody here is asking why this I put here. This is a I was just it's not doing anything. Okay. If I don't put it, it's going to give me the same thing. Look, I left it here to show you that there are parameters and functions. Okay. So I'll talk about this in a bit. But at first, like a princípio, it's not doing much, okay? Actually, it's not. It would do something if I had another variable, okay? So let's say I want to print two things, okay? The thing is that now, let's try something out, because I was imagining something else. You see, I put a separator between one print and another. Let's say I want to print into different lines. I could do something like this, because this dash n represents the line jump, okay? Cool. So that's it, but I'll talk about like what this is soon, okay? This is the parameter for a function, which is print. I want to mention before we move on, I want to mention the types that we're going to be covering. I mentioned the strings, right? I was showing here that the apostrophe, if I run this, it's going to give me an error because it understands that S is a variable because it's not wrapped around quotes, okay? You see, because of all these, how weird this is. So I can put a double quotes and this solves my problem, okay? Cool. So that's pretty much the only difference between single quotes and double quotes, okay? At least the one that's actually showing up for me, okay? So now I can run and it's just a text, okay? If I want to make sure that this is a string, I can write type around it. There is a quote below, but let's get this already done with. And I'll get the string here, so I know that this is a string. Cool. Other than strings, I have integers, which are whole numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have floats, which are numbers with decimal points, like 1.1, 1.2, and so on. We have lists, okay? Lists is an object that contains other objects. We call that callable in Python, okay? And I'll show you how lists work as well. Lists are very interesting. You can do a lot of stuff with them. And also dictionaries, okay? Also used to store other objects inside, right? It's also callable, so, right? And I keep double clicking it and this is what happens. There we go. Okay, you're going to use the curly brackets. I'll show you later down. This is going to be the last thing we're going to be seeing because it's a bit more complex. So a string is actually a text. Anything that's a text, okay, it's called a string. Anything that's around quotes, is going to be a string. Okay, even if I don't put anything inside, let's check it out. Let's see if that's correct. So you see, even though I have nothing inside, it's a string. Everything around quotes is a string. Usually they're the texts, okay? Which are different from the others. Integers and floats that are numbers, and lists and dictionaries that are callable objects that you can store other objects inside. This is going to become more clear soon when I show you how it's done, okay? Guys, how I'm doing to move from one cell to the other to run the cell is Shift-Enter. You see, it does automatically. Or I can press here on the play button here that appears in each cell. One interesting thing about notebooks, whether it's Collab or Jupyter Notebook, is that I don't have to run the cells in order. Okay, I can run this one here. I can run this one here. You know, the ones I want to run. What do you have to keep in mind is that if you haven't not run a cell yet, Python did, for example, if I had not run this cell, Python would not know what my first variable is because I did not run yet. Once I run, my first variable gets stored in Python. So next cell, if I want to use it like I'm using here, it's going to work, okay? So if I had not run this cell, this would break because my first variable would not be defined because I'm defining it here, okay? So let's talk about the print, okay? Print is something that might feel, it's something that we use to see our results, okay? So this is very important. This is very important, especially for debugging your code, for fixing your code, okay? And for you to be able to see things, okay? So here I'm not using print, and yet it's returning me the result, okay? So when we're talking about notebooks, if we don't pass print and we run the notebook, it's going to display the last thing, okay? So just, well, it's a print, but it's a behavior of notebooks, usually. And if you are using an actual Python script, this is not like, this would not be doing anything, okay? This last line of code is not doing anything. So in a script, this would not be doing anything. Here, it's just asking if one thing is equals to the other, right? The answer is true, but also it's not storing this value anywhere. I just want to show you how a condition works here. But first, let's go back and keep talking about print, okay? Print is a function, like I mentioned before. Functions, everything, like every library that you use, everything in Python that you use will have a documentation, which is basically like a text explaining you how things work, okay? Let's see if I can do it now. Well, I'm not gonna go for Print's documentation because it sucks, it's terrible, okay? But once I find a documentation that I think it's worth it, I'll show it to you, okay? But I think because they're all from Python native stuff, I think they will all kind of look silly, but let's try it out then. Print Python documentation. Guys, I've been working with Python for over 2 years now, and I always look at the documentation of the stuff I'm working with, okay? You'll always be looking at the documentation, okay? You'll always be Googling your stuff, right? You, like, Google is your friend, go ahead and go for it. Like, the trick most of the times will be to know, like, the correct way to Google something to return you the results that you need, okay? So here's an example of documentation. Okay, guys, these are built-in functions in Python. Like, all of this, it already comes in Python, so you don't need to install any additional library for it, okay? You have all these. There are interesting stuff here. There's a lot of cool things that you can go and learn by yourself what they do. Let's go to print. Here's Print's library. Some documentation are better than other. I think this documentation is kind of bad, okay? Particularly, I think this is a bad, like, well, it's hard to say that it's bad, right? But anyways, like, it's less easy to read, like, it's less beginner friendly. Some documentation have examples and they are more beginner friendly, okay? But this is print, okay? Usually you have the name of the function, and in parentheses, you're gonna have what makes me an expert? Well, I guess having a job in the area, okay? Because apparently that's what it means. But yeah, I mean, I'm 2 years on this, so you gotta balance stuff to look. Well, so the thing about Python, what makes you an expert in Python is understanding how Python works, okay? Because, like, what's the point of memorizing exactly how, like, the name of stuff and syntax if you can quickly find it on Google, I don't see much point in memorizing stuff when we're talking about programming, okay? What makes you an expert, let me say, is understanding the logic behind, okay? And being able to solve a problem thinking of the code that you need. Of course, you're not going to know the syntax right away. If I give you a piece of paper, if you give me a piece of paper to write a code, I'm going to write a code that's not going to work, of course, right? But the idea of the code is going to be there, and you can easily fix the syntax and go and look up for example, sometimes I know what I need to do, but I don't know how it can be done. So I look up on Google to see if anyone did it and follow up on that idea, okay? being able, the thing is not just copy and paste code, okay? The thing is that it's necessary that you understand the code that you're copying and pasting, okay? If you understand the code that you're pasting, then you're already evolving, as a coder, okay? The idea is for you to understand the logic of programming, the programming logic, because that will make like your life in Python really much more easier, okay? Now knowing all the functions and knowing all the parameters of the functions, that's not realistic, okay? Because there's too much stuff out there. There are too many libraries. There's too much stuff. What you gain with time is ease on Googling. Okay, you get a good sense of okay, this is the problem I want to solve. I can Google it like this, and you start getting results from that. Okay, and also the logic behind the programming that you're doing. Okay, so you see, for example, in print, you have already 2 or 3 different parameters that you can work for. You have 4 different parameters. You go to the documentation, you can see what these parameters do. Sometimes it's related to something that you want to do. Here, I just passed a separator, but honestly, I had never, I used this last time I gave the webinar. Okay, I've learned about this. So I'm always also learning. Every day I'm learning something new. Okay, some stuff gets already, encrypted in your mind, and some stuff you look at once and then you forget, and it's natural. When you need it, you will be able to find it again. Okay, so this is how the separator is working, and it should be explained here somewhere. Okay, like I said, this documentation, I don't find it beginner friendly, okay, because it has some C stuff in, like whatever this is doing. Okay, and here it already ends, and I don't see examples, and I don't see also like explaining what sep actually does. I had to test it out to see what it did. Okay, because here I did not find, maybe it is, maybe it's written, I didn't have patience to read the whole thing. But usually, like let's say pandas documentation, which is a library that we use to read Excel files, to read data and to put it in a nice table, okay, has a good documentation. You open it, you have what each parameter does, and you have examples. So you can learn how to use a library from there. Okay, so now that we understand what a function is, okay, hopefully you can define functions yourself. Okay, like all these print, okay, is a series of, let's say, for loops and conditionals. Okay, of course, I'm just oversimplifying it, but print is some line of code. Okay, some lines of code that does this for you. This is what a function is. A function is something that contains code, and you can define functions yourself. Okay, so you can create your own libraries to make your life easier when you're coding. There's a lot of stuff that you will slowly realize as you go in your coding career. Let's say stata. Have the command help. So yeah, so Diogo asked here if there's an easier way to access library. I know that if you go on Jupyter Notebook, okay, you can click on the function and hold Shift and press Tab 3 times, and documentation opens. I'm pretty sure there's a way here too. Okay, I don't know because I don't use Collab that much, but I'm pretty sure that there's a way to open the documentation straight from here. Okay. See, here it's already showing print. I don't know. I'm trying to click, but nothing happens. Maybe a quick Google will solve this, okay? But I'm pretty sure that there's a way to display the documentation here right in your face here in Collab. So you don't have to go and Google it. It's remembering me just now, 30 minutes after it started, but that's it. Let's see if we have another question here. isn't there a function library in Collab? A function. I'm not sure what you meant, Gemma. Joseph, so the first thing you need to begin Python is like willingness to learn. Okay, I recommend like and start coding. Like stop reading about it and start coding. Okay, there are some there are some pretty cool free online courses that I can recommend. For example, there's a Coursera, which is a website. There's a lot of content in there, and there is in English there's one called Python for Everybody. Okay, it's from Michigan University. It's the one that I'm recommending this because it's the one I started with. I don't know many. There's many good ones. Okay, this is the one I know because this is the one I did before I started at Ironhack, just to get the hang of Python. I do recommend some if you're thinking about joining Ironhack. I do recommend you some Python knowledge beforehand. Okay, it will make your data analytics life much easier there. Yeah, Josh is recommending Data Camp Python course. So my recommendation to start is to find a well recommended, course for beginners. Okay, a course that will give you exercises, right? Not just stuff to read about. I think it's more interesting when you're learning to code to actually try things out. Okay, and actually you're here, so you already started, right? Maybe we just begun Python. Okay, hopefully you'll know a bit more about it by the end of the session. Okay. Yeah, so Gemma, I see what you mean, and it's like I said, I'm pretty sure that there is, but I don't know. Like for Collab, I don't know. Okay, I know what you mean. Something like this, right? Let me show you that. Something like this that has all the functions, right? This, I don't think we have it in the notebooks for Python. I don't know anything about this. Maybe there's a library that you can download and have something like this. I'm not sure. Okay. Cool, Joseph. I'm gonna move on here a bit faster because there's a lot of stuff to cover. Okay, and we have just begun, guys. Here I'm showing you. So, having this function stuff in mind. Okay, let's move on. Here, I'm writing my first condition. Oops, I'm writing my first condition. Okay, so I have my first variable stored here, and I have hello world inside. Okay, if you have noticed, there's the hello world here is it has spaces around hello world. Okay, and yeah, so what we're seeing here, let me erase this. Okay, because this is what it's making it true. What I want to show you is that they are not the same. Okay, so here the spaces count. Okay, so this is not like this as we can see it here. Okay, one thing that one thing that one thing that I want to highlight is that we have double equals here. Okay, the difference between one equal and two equals is that when we put one equal, we're assigning a value to a variable. Okay, when we put two, we are creating a condition. Okay, we're creating a condition here, guys. Just a sec. There's I need to solve something. Just 5 minutes. Okay, so sorry about this. Be right back. Okay, no, it was solved. It was okay. So that's okay. Just a sec. Well, sorry about this. Let's go back. So that's the difference between 1 equal and 2 equals, okay? Is that 1 equal, I'm assigning a value to a variable, right? And 2 equals, I'm asking, right? Is this equals to this, okay? So I'm writing a condition. And in this case, it's false, okay? Because they're not the same. Here, you saw that I had the dot strip, and the dot strip returns true, okay? Because what the dot strip does is remove spaces before and after the string. There's L strip, which removes the left space. There's R strip that removes the right space, and there is strip that removes both, okay? Strip, you see there's a bit of a difference between print and strip, okay? Is that print is a function, and it takes many types of objects here. Okay, so it could be a string, it could be an integer, it could be a list. I can print pretty much everything, okay? And a method is something that works only for a specific type of object. So my first variable is a string, and dot strip is a string method, okay? Strip is a string method, so it only works on a string. If I tried to use dot strip in a number, it would not work, okay? So that's it. Here, this is an image from Alex Factory for those who lived in Lisbon or already visited there. The thing about Hello World is like the first thing that programmers learned to do is print Hello World, okay? And so there it is. You have just begun, okay? I can strip when I'm not passing anything inside, it removes spaces, but I can remove other characters as well, okay? For example, here, I'm removing the exclamation mark, okay, in the beginning and in the end of the sentence. So keep an eye on the parameters for methods and functions, right? They can change what the function or the method is doing. Cool? Here, I'm showing you that like I did before with the types, so there's nothing new. I'm introducing here floats and integers. You can see that 10, right, is printed out here, is an integer, and B is a float, okay? And hello world here is a string, okay? I'm showing you also here some basic operations, math operations, right? Sum, subtraction, division, multiplication. This is elevating to the power of, so this is 2 elevated to the power of 4. I hope this is how you say it. And this is the reminder, okay? What is the reminder? It's the reminder of a division. If I divide 5 by 2, the answer is 2, right? Because you have 4. So 5 minus 4 is 1. The reminder is 1, right? So it's what remains from the division. This is very used to check if a number is even or odd, for example, okay? You can multiply a string. This is what I'm showing you. All that's going to do is replicate the string the amount of times that you're multiplying it by, okay? Cool. So this, well, that's it. Here's, I started to show you about errors, right, guys? You will find a lot of these. Do not despair. Keep on forward. You try to solve the error yourself. Read the error. Always read the error, even if in the beginning it's scary and you don't understand. Always read the error. With time, you'll see how important this is. Okay. In the beginning, what you're going to do is copy the error and paste it in Google. Okay. And you probably want to add also the function you're using, like print or something like this. Or, well, let's try just this one and see what we get back, okay? We can basically just search the error, and there's going to be some Stack Overflow thing for us to read. We can go here, check it out if it's the same problem we're having, check the answer, see if it solves our problems, okay? So I do recommend always searching stuff, but before searching stuff, reading it, okay? Reading it and trying to understand. Cool, that's important. It's cool to look it up. It's cool to find the answers. and it's better if you try and understand, okay? This is a type error, a common error, because I'm trying to add a number to a string, and that's not possible. A float to a string, you can see it here. Unsupported operand type plus, so I cannot use plus on floats and strings, okay? So I can multiply, but I cannot sum. Another here, I'm printing D, but D, there's nowhere here saying what D is, okay? So I get a name error, okay, saying that D is not defined. Cool. Here, I'm just showing you that I can sum up numbers, right? So that's it. There was a syntax error here. So let's do something like this, okay? Or something like this. I don't know. Just a syntax error is when you write something that Python do not recognize, okay? So this is a syntax error. I didn't even need the comma, just the space there is enough. So you have the syntax error. It kind of points out where it feels that it's wrong. Okay, so print, again, is just like to show stuff, okay? I want to show something here under my cell. I want to show my output. I use print, okay? So my output is also shown. See here, I use several prints and all of them show up here, right? So that's why I use the print, so they show up here. So this is it for now. Let's keep on going. So like you see, it's not that hard, right? You have Google there to help you out, okay? Now let's have some fun with groceries here at COVID times, right? A lot of lines. Well, let's go. Let's talk about lists, okay? Here these are actually my grocery lists when I first came to Portugal. And so let's say that I have these items that I usually buy, and that there are these items that I buy sometimes, okay? So here, if let's say that today I want them all, I want to buy everything, I can create a new list, okay? By adding those two lists together. So if you double click on the pictures, somebody asked how I did it. There's how I did it here. If you double click, you'll see that it's just putting an exclamation mark, these square brackets, and then in parentheses, the link of the GIF. Okay, so then you press Shift Enter, and there it is. If you double click, you'll see exactly how I did it. Okay, double clicking it, there you go. The same thing for the texts, okay? The same thing for the texts. You can make them texts somewhere around. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. For Collab, I'm not super sure. But you can also add the text like this. You can add the here plus text and plus code. If you want a code or if you want a text, you can go through here. Okay. So we were adding lists. Basically, appends one list to the other. Okay. So you're adding them two together, and my end list. So I'm doing this what that I'm doing here, okay, guys, is the same thing that I'm doing here, okay? So I'm gonna hashtag this one for now to show you. So I'm gonna run this one, and then I run this one. So I have my lists, okay? And you're gonna see that this here they are the same thing. So I have to run this one to erase my list, or else I'm just gonna keep putting stuff on the list, okay? And then I use extend. No, I was pretty sure that they should be. They weren't the same, right? But they should be. Let me hashtag this one and do the other one again. Maybe something before. Here. It's because new grocery list is different than grocery list now. So new grocery list should be equals to grocery list when I use extend, okay? The thing about using extend and append, extend is a list method, so it's a method that only works for lists, okay? The idea of extend is when you have two lists and you want to put them both together, okay? So you can either sum them. If you sum them, you have to store them in a variable, okay? But if you use extend, you don't have to. because extend is an in-place method. So it changes the object, the original object. Okay, so now grocery list doesn't only contain these. Grocery list also contains this. You see? Pay attention to this, okay, guys? When you're studying, when you're coming back to this, this is an important distinction, okay? They're doing the same thing in different ways. There are some differences, like here I had to assign a new variable, right? And here is happening in place, okay? So there we go, the same thing here, right? Using extend. Here I use sorted. Sorted is something that I use to sort lists, okay? And alphabetically or numerically, doesn't matter, okay? You can use this, sorted. If I have duplicates in my list, I can use a set object. I can transform my list into a set, okay? I'm not going to talk too much about sets, but set is interesting because you can remove duplicates. In my opinion, that's like the most interesting thing about it, because set does not take duplicates. So if you have a list with duplicated values and you want to have a list with unique values, you can transform that list into a set, okay? Like I did it here to eliminate the duplicates. Yes, Joma, extend only applies to lists, okay? Because it's a list method, okay? Whatever, like you have a method, whenever you have a method, it only applies to this specific type here. It's a list method, so it only works on lists. Strip is a string method, so it only works on strings, okay? Append is also something that you will use a lot for lists, and it's a list method, okay? Yeah, well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, I made this script myself. Yeah, that's so. There we go. Okay, the set of the new grocery list. And then you can check, for example, let's see how many items is in there. I can use length for length, okay? Here I explain a little bit of each, so you don't have maybe to go to the documentation, but it's always good to go to documentation to try and get, you know, the idea of you going through the documentation right ahead, right in the beginning, is for you to get used to the language, the technicalities of it, and in no time it's going to be something easy for you to read, okay? So here I'm printing out, and in this print I want to show you that you can use this F before the strings to add variables within the curly brackets, okay? So see, because I'm using F, whatever I put inside these curly brackets are going to be printed out. Total items is the length of the sorted list, okay? And it's being printed out here. You see? So you are buying total items, which is 17. And then there's items here, right? And then the sorted list that I'm printing out here, okay? Just an extra information, okay? It's not difficult, guys. Python is something that kind of, it's weird in the beginning because it's a programming language and you've never seen programming that's super weird, but like it gets fun in no time, okay? You start to understand what it is, and it's actually fun when you have a little piece of code to solve. When you're able to solve a little piece of code, it's like it feels really rewarding, okay? So Monica, like, it's up to you, okay? Like the more time you put, the faster you'll learn, for sure, okay? In the beginning, because in the beginning I was doing 4 hours a day because that's like what I had, you know. After I came to Lisbon to do the boot camp, I was coding 10, 12 hours a day. But again, because I was changing careers, I was in a hurry for that, right? I was jobless for a while. You know, I put my stuff in hold in Brazil, so I had a limited amount of time to get this done. Okay, so it's up to you. If you have more time, you can spread out your hours more, right? What I usually think is that the first 30 hours that you're learning Python, okay, so actually coding, 30 hours coding, right? Not just 2 days, just like 30 hours coding, are the hardest. Afterwards, you start to understand the logic, and it gets you start feeling pleasure into actually solving the little pieces of code that you have. I think it becomes fun really fast. Okay. Now, if you want to compare the time that we should put in Python and other skills, also depends on what you want to do, okay, Monica? Because you have, when we're talking about data, we have a lot of paths to go. Data analytics by itself doesn't require too much Python. There's a lot of work out there that doesn't require Python at all, okay, related to data analytics. I think it's good to have Python, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's the most important skill. Of course, for some jobs, it's going to be, right? But for some other ones, it's not going to be the most important one, okay? When we're talking about data engineering and data science, Python or R, let's say, are essential. You need to know these to work like as a data scientist or as a data engineer, okay? So Joseph, I would say there's a lot. The main ones that I would say is these three that I mentioned: data analytics, data science, data engineer, and of course, software engineer, okay? But in these four areas, they branch, there's a lot of other stuff within these three main areas. Cool. So let's talk about for loops, guys, because time is short, okay? I'm not even sure if I'm gonna make it until the end. Yeah, so let's see. A for loop, okay, is a way to navigate through an iterable object. Okay, what is an iterable object? Is an object that contains other objects inside. Okay, so a list is an iterable. A string is also an iterable because you can access each letter at once. You can access each letter at a time. Okay, integers
Hey Felipe, are you there? Hi, you guys. No, I think it's not only you guys because I lost him as well. So very 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 sorry. I will push him out from screen and then I will add him again. Maybe he have a like a technical issue. Sorry guys, just 1 second. We are waiting for him to reconnect. Hello to everyone. Very nice to see you guys. Hey, Monica, it was getting interesting. It will be super interesting. Felipe will come back in just few minutes. Just give me 1 second, guys. I will add him to scream again. You know, guys, this is what happened when we are live. So just a few seconds. Let's see it. Yeah, Joseph. I'm on it. I'm on it. Very, very sorry for this issue, guys. Let's see. Because I'm trying to, I'm invite him to the stage and it seems like he doesn't respond. Maybe his computer like restart or something. It's weird, guys. Sorry. Just give us some minutes, please. Actually, this happened, I think, in 2 webinars ago. Yeah, that he lost his connection suddenly, and it was because his computer restarted. So I think this might be the issue. So just let's wait just a couple of minutes, guys.
Hey.
Guess who's back?
So I was like giving class and just
Felipe,
come
I have
on.
a
Took
question.
me
It
so
was
long
your
to figure out.
computer that restart?
No, it didn't restart. It was my internet. It was like internet connection.
Okay, because I thought you remember that I think like two webinars ago your computer restart. I was
Yeah.
telling the guys like maybe it's that, but okay, I will leave and I will let you with Felipe because this is
Cool, cool. It was a internet connection issue here. I was like complaining that the collab was taking forever to run, and in the end it was all my fault. There we go. So let me share my screen, right? So we can go back to where we were. This is it. So cool. Cool. We're back. Okay. So let me know if I jumped something, but I was starting with the for loop, right? So let's start with this part here. I'm going to change a little bit because this, I think let's see just the basic stuff. I'm not going to run the break yet. Okay. I'm just going to add the comments so it doesn't run. And I'm not going to be using C for now. Okay. I'll explain it right following up next what it is. So this is the for loop. No, it's not. It's because I'm printing it out here. But let's do it like this. Erase it for now. And let's run. Okay. So what I'm doing. Let's see. What's going to happen here. We have the list, right? We have 6 items in the list. So I'm looping through this list of 6 items. Guys, one thing that I want you to notice right away, is that this here that I wrote, this for blah, 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 would be the same thing as this, okay? Like, right? I just stored this in a variable before, so it's like more easy to read the code afterwards. But computational wise, that's the same thing, okay? So what I also mentioned that for I in new items, I could be anything I want. So I could call this whatever I want. Let's call this whatever. Okay. As long as, of course, here inside, I change it to. Okay. Something more also important about for loops is that everything that goes on inside a for loop needs indentation. Okay. What's indentation? It's this space from the beginning of the line until where you actually start coding. Everything from inside a for loop, everything after an if-else statement to write a condition, okay? And also to define functions, okay? So you need this, it's 4 spaces or a tab, okay? Collab is 2 spaces, okay? But that's just Collab. Normal practice is 4 spaces or 1 tab, okay? In Collab, 1 tab is 2 spaces for some reason, so whatever. But that's just a Collab thing, okay? 4 spaces or 1 tab indents it for you, and you can write the for loop. And you can see that here in new item, I'm printing 1 line, okay? Then I'm printing an empty line. That's why we have a space between one print and the other, okay? And then we go to the next whatever here, which is mushrooms, right? The next item, and I print it out here, okay? Oops. So in the end, I print out all my items inside the list, okay? And this is the only thing I'm doing in the for loop. The C that I added here is to show you that I can start, for example, a variable at 0, and every time I run the for loop, I can add 1 to it, okay? This is the same thing as this, okay? And I'm adding 1 to C every time I code. So I can add the, well, let me Control Z because I need that. Come on, come on, come on. I need the C here. There we go. So let's put the C back, okay? And here you'll see that I'm gonna be printing out C. So I can do it like this. And C is being printed out here in the beginning, okay? Let's say that I wanna print only the 3 first ones. I can add a break. So I'm adding here a condition. If C is equals to 3, okay? So if it's C is equals to 3, it's gonna break. What is break? It's going to stop the loop, okay? So there we go. It went 1, 2, 3, and it didn't print the rest, okay? Because I created a break here, okay? Guys, a while statement is you start here while and you write a condition. I'm not gonna go over this because we're super over time and I still wanna show you guys the dictionary, okay? But it's here for you to check it out and see how it works. A while loop can be infinite, so watch out for that. If you create a condition here that's never satisfied, the loop is gonna go on forever. So keep an eye on that, have that in mind. But this piece of code is doing exactly the same here. This is a list comprehension. It's here because last webinar somebody asked about it and I showed how it was, but today we don't have time to go over a list comprehension. And it's also something that's more advanced, okay? It's just a way to write a for loop in one line. So this I dot capitalize is doing the same thing as I did here. Also I did not mention the capitalize that I put here in my loop, right? The capitalize is a string method that turns a lowercase string into a capitalized string. So you see here that the C is uppercase now because of this capitalized function, okay? This is what this is doing. It's a string method that's used to capitalize words, strings, okay? Another cool thing that I want to show about lists is that you can actually access a value from a list using square brackets. So if I put square brackets 1, it's going to get mushrooms, okay? Because Python starts counting at 0, right? So if I do list 0, I'm going to get chicken, right? Because it's the first element in the list. It's because I did not run the cell, okay? Now list C is there, exists, so I can run this again. And there we go, chicken, okay? Cool. Cool. So this I was showing you guys that you can basically loop through a list, right? You don't have to have a variable here, but it is recommended to have the variable. Okay. This we've done before, just some extra, just to show you, for example, that you can, when you loop, you can access each item at a time. I'm not going over this because this is already a technique that's a bit more advanced, okay? But it's already here for you to run and try to understand how this is working, okay? Same thing for using range and length. There's two things, again, that I had it here because last webinar somebody asked about it, but I will not have time today to cover, okay? We're already over time, but that's the way to do, okay? The length, remember, it shows how many items there is in the list. The range is going to create something that's similar to a list from 0 until that number. So for example, let's say that the length is 5. The range is going to create a list from 0 to 4, okay? Because 5 doesn't count. So I'm printing I here, right? And it's going to print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It prints up to 6 because my new list has 6 items, right? So that's it. Cool. The append, guys, append. Remember that what extend does is put 2 lists together, okay? The append works on a list, so you have grocery list, okay? And the append will append an item to the list, okay? So in this case, I'm looping through my new items. So item is going to be a string with the name of the ingredient that I'm buying, the name of the grocery, right? And for each loop, I'm adding that new element to my original grocery list, okay? Append is also in place, so you cannot store it into a new variable. It overwrites the old variable, okay? Here I've written some extra knowledge on append. Cool. But yeah, that's it. The thing, yeah, that's it. The one thing to look out, guys, is that when I'm running the cell, every time I run the cell, the list is getting bigger and bigger, okay? You see, I'm gonna run and the list is gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. That's because I'm not saying, that's because, I'm always appending to grocery list. I'm changing the object itself, okay? That's why this is happening. So you can see here that now the lists are much longer with repeated elements inside because I was appending the same elements over and over again, okay? The same thing here. I'm showing you here how to avoid this problem of creating these repeated elements inside the list, okay? Here I'm showing you that you can actually change a value in the list. So here you remember that the first element was chicken. Now I'm saying that the first element is milk. And there we go. We have the list again, and the first element is milk and not chicken, okay? You can actually change the values there. I was showing that you can iterate through a list, through strings, okay? You can also access the string the same way we do it in lists. I have to run this one. So, like you can actually access the first element and the second and so on of a string. No, Joma, there is no difference, okay? You can use, it's a dummy variable that's called. It's a variable that you give in the for loop. And then you have to use that same name inside. But that's the only thing that you have to keep in mind, is that this must have the same name as whenever you need to use it. But the name that you give it here doesn't really matter. Well, it does have conventions, right? But it could be anything you want. Yeah, so Andre, so the thing is, it depends on what you're aiming for, okay? Because it's a data analytics bootcamp, so it's gonna get ready for you for data analytics. For that, I think the Python that's given in the pre-work is okay. But if you're thinking about data science, you're thinking about development or data engineering, or if you want to, I think you can, feel less pain during the course if you already know some Python, okay? Because I think that what gets a lot of the students right in the beginning is Python, because it's something completely new, okay? And yeah, it's very painful in the beginning. And you have not only Python, but other stuff, right? You have to learn to analyze. You have to learn other stuff. So it's not only Python, right? And if you already have some Python knowledge, you won't struggle so much. You won't take so much time to do to do the labs and stuff, right? Because most of the labs are done in Python. So if you already have some knowledge, you'll be faster in the coding part, right? Even though the bootcamp is not focused on coding, okay? I do recommend some knowledge, okay? I did a whole course, like it was a 3-month course or something, but maybe that was overkill, right? Maybe you're right on going on a module that's more interesting, that covers up these first parts. You can use Code Wars, okay? I think I have Code Wars here. I've written down in the notebook here the website, which is a website that helps you out to practice Python, okay? So I do recommend, maybe not, you don't need to do courses, understanding how loops and conditions work. You can already start at Code Wars, and just Code Wars gives you some small problems to solve with code. And that will help you gain the logic, the programming logic that you need, so it won't be too painful when you start the bootcamp. Joseph, no, you don't. Well, for the data analytics bootcamp, no, okay? You don't have HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, okay? That is for web dev. It's a different thing. I'm not, to create websites and apps, okay? It's different from data analytics, but Ironhack also has a course on that as well. I recommend data analytics though. I think it's more fun. Guys, I don't think I'm gonna have to go. I'm just gonna go over the very beginning of dictionaries, but then I'm gonna cut, okay? Because there's something following up here, and also I have to go to class, okay? So I'm just gonna wrap this up here, this part, to explain what a dictionary is, just so you don't just so you don't go home curious. Okay, but then I'll leave the rest to you to understand. Okay, conditions, like other stuff. Also, there's a challenge. I leave it to you here. Okay, I leave you guys a challenge here to try. And here's the Code Wars link for you to access later and practice yourself. Okay, so cool. Okay, so I think after this webinar, okay, if you go over again to the notebook until you understand everything, what you don't understand, you can Google. And also something extra, which is to learn how to define a function, which you can also Google. There's probably going to be a 10-minute video there for you to watch or something, you know? Understanding how to define a function. With those, like with that kickstart, you can already go to Code Wars and start practicing there. I think that's a good way to go, okay? In the beginning, you'll take a lot of time to solve the Code Wars problem, and that's okay. Don't be ashamed of Googling. Like, Google always, every time that the question comes to your head, like when you're able to formulate the question of what you want to do, go ahead and Google it, okay? So, dictionaries, right? Dictionary has curly brackets, okay? Dictionary has a key, right? Dictionary has a key separated by 2 dots, and then the value, okay? So we call this key, and we call this value. And then we separate each key value by a comma, right? So I have here my groceries, and I have here the price of my groceries, okay? I can get all the prices by using grocery dict, because I call this, right? Grocery dict here. Dot values, okay? Dot values is a dictionary method that returns me all the values inside my dictionary. The dot keys is a method that returns me all the keys. So this returns me the name of the items I want to buy. Here you can see that I'm printing out the sum of the prices, okay? And because it gives me a long number, I'm rounding that number by the 2 decimal cases. So this is the total price. It's summing up the total amount that I'm going to spend on my groceries, okay? And then I'm getting the length of my items that returns me the number of items I'm going to be buying. Cool? There's a lot of stuff here. I would never expect you to learn it right away, okay? This is here for you to redo and maybe rewatch the thing, or maybe just try yourself, and when you are not able to do it, Google and try to understand what is going on, okay? Dot items, okay, is a way to access both keys and values, okay? Dot items returns me a tuple, which is another, like lists, dictionaries, and sets, you have tuples. The difference between a tuple and a list is that tuples are immutable. You cannot change the values inside, okay? But that's just for your knowledge, just for your information. If you do the dot items, you have a list of tuples, right? So each list is going to be the key and the value. So when you loop through a dictionary, you actually loop through the dictionary dot items, okay? And you do key comma value. So you can actually access them both in each loop, right? So you see that in each loop, I'm printing coffee and value, milk and value, right? Key and value. Comes from this logic here, okay? In Python, you can do this. If you do a comma b equals 1 comma 2, a is going to be 1 and b is going to be 2, like I'm doing here. I'm printing b and b is 2, okay? This idea comes from this, right? One comes from the other, like it's the same logic, okay? And this works because we have a list of tuples. So every iteration, we have key, k, right? Key, comma, value, right? Key, comma, value. Okay. You can actually change the values in the dictionary like this, okay? In list, we access by their index, by the number where by the position that it is. And in dictionaries, we have the keys to find stuff. So we use keys to find stuff there. If the price of the coffee raised from 3 to 350, I can reassign the value here in my dictionary. And now I have a coffee at 350, okay? This is just to show you how key value works, right? This is then me adding a condition, okay? Conditions are if, else, if, and else statements, right? Where I write the if, and then I write a condition. Here I'm asking for the values that are bigger than 3, okay? And I'm counting how many values are bigger than 3, okay? Because I had a equals 0 here, and I'm adding 1 every time this condition is met, okay? Else, if the value is 3, I'm going to be counting and storing that count into a different variable. Remember that this and this is the same thing, okay? Prefer to use this. This is how everybody uses it, okay? This feels a bit noob, so you can already start using this. It's not a difficult syntax. And else, so if it's not bigger and it's not equal, it's smaller than, right? So else, it's going to count in a third variable. So I'm going to have all this information, okay? And this is how conditions work, right? You can write many types of conditions here. Usually it's something like this, or in is something that you use a lot, okay? I'm going to leave here like for you conditions, common conditions. Besides these that I already showed, you have in, you have any, you have all. Anything that returns true or false, okay? True or false. Because what this is checking, that's what it's checking, okay? If true, this is true, look. Let's say the value here, let's say it's 350, right? 350 is bigger than 3, it returns true. So basically, and if it's not, right? So if it's 2.8, it's going to return false, right? So it's either this is equals to, it's the same thing as if I do if true, okay? When it's true, of course, print high, okay? If false, then this is not going to run. You see? That's it. Just so you can get some insight from there. And then there's the final challenge. Jalma. So this is more complex, okay? You can either use this this idea here that I mentioned briefly. Where is it? Where is it? Where you loop through the range length, okay? And then you can do, let's say you have a list 1, right? You go here, something like this, I, comma, oops. Let's say you want to add 2 values, right? You can go here, plus list 2, I. This would be a way to access the list. Let's store this in a variable. This would be a way to access 2 lists at the same time, okay? But Jaume is a student of mine, right? We'll talk about this more today at class when we were solving the pre-work, okay? Guys, I really have to go. I'm not even going to ask if there's any questions because, sorry, there's no time, okay? But these webinars are always going on, okay? So if you're interested, keep an eye out. And yeah, let's meet again, okay? It was a pleasure to be here. I really enjoy being here. So let me stop sharing. I'll see you soon, hopefully, okay?
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Felipe, as well. Have a very nice afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome,
Bye.
guys.